The year was 2047, and humanity was at the peak of technological advancement. With the development of advanced AI, space exploration technology, and a new era of peace across Earth, humanity had no idea that the greatest threat to their existence was already on its way. The Galactic Empire, a ruthless, technologically superior alien empire, had been watching Earth for decades, and they had decided it was time to invade. Without warning, the sky over Earth shattered in a violent explosion of energy. Massive warships, cloaked in invisible technology, tore through the atmosphere, descending rapidly upon the planet. The first sign of the invasion was not the sound of the ships but the light, a blinding flash across the skies as the ships deployed their stealth technology and unleashed hell upon Earth. Explosions rocked the cities, and the world was thrown into a chaotic state of panic. The humans had never faced an enemy like this. Their most advanced defense systems, years of research and technology, were powerless against the alien warships. The air was thick with smoke as massive blasts tore apart entire cities. From the skies, Earth's proud military satellites, once invincible, were obliterated one by one. The bombs dropped by the invaders created craters as deep as oceans, swallowing whole buildings and structures in an instant. Earth's citizens had no time to prepare. The military was caught off guard, and before they could mount a proper defense, entire military bases had been wiped out. The destruction was swift, and Earth's military leaders realized they were hopelessly outmatched. Across the world, armies scrambled to defend their countries, but it was clear that they were fighting a losing battle. The Empire's warships hovered above major cities, firing lasers that decimated entire blocks at a time. Civilian populations scattered, with millions of lives lost in the initial hours of the attack. It was no longer just a military war, it was a massacre. Amidst this global crisis, people everywhere sought shelter, but the invasion wasn't just about destroying infrastructure. The Galactic Empire aimed to crush the spirit of humanity. They wanted to break Earth's will to fight. The terror was palpable. Families were torn apart, and entire cities became war zones. There was no time for mourning, no time for strategy, only survival. But just as the last remnants of Earth's defense were crumbling, something unexpected happened. From Earth's most secure military base, an underground facility hidden deep in the mountains, an encrypted signal was broadcast into space. It wasn't a distress signal. It wasn't a plea for help. It was a call to arms. The signal was intercepted by the Empire's fleet, but they couldn't understand it. It wasn't a conventional communication. It was a code, one that had been in development for years, kept hidden from the public eye. This mysterious transmission was Earth's secret weapon, and it held the key to humanity's retaliation. The Empire, overconfident in its victory, hadn't anticipated Earth's ability to fight back. As the last human defense forces were being wiped out, something incredible began to happen. In the chaos, the humans launched a counterattack, a move no one had expected. The mysterious signal was not only a call to arms, it activated a plan that would change the tide of the war. It wasn't just about survival anymore, it was about revenge. Earth was not going to fall without a fight. Enter Captain Jake Carter, a young and determined military leader. Though he was new to his position, Jake's reputation as a brilliant strategist had already spread throughout the military. He had a calm and focused demeanor, even in the most dire of situations. But more than that, Jake possessed an unshakable belief in humanity's ability to adapt, to fight back, and to outsmart any enemy. Jake's rise to prominence wasn't through brute strength or high-ranking connections. Instead, it was his mind, his understanding of human ingenuity, that had earned him the respect of his peers. He wasn't just a soldier, he was a tactician who saw the big picture. He knew that humanity's real strength wasn't in its weapons or technology but in its adaptability, its resilience. And now, as Earth's last hope, Jake was determined to prove it. But Jake had more to fight for than just humanity's survival. His family was among the first victims of the invasion. His mother and father, two brilliant scientists working on Earth's most advanced space programs, were killed when their research facility was destroyed in one of the Empire's early strikes. The loss was devastating, and it left a scar on Jake that would fuel his every action. His grief and anger weren't just personal, they became his driving force. Every step he took in the battle against the Empire was a step towards justice for those who had fallen. He wasn't just leading humanity's forces, he was fighting for the souls of the innocent who had been lost. Jake stood at the forefront of the human resistance, working tirelessly to rally Earth's remaining forces. With the mysterious signal now in motion, it was clear that humanity had one chance to strike back, and they couldn't afford to waste it. The military, once scattered and disorganized, now found themselves united under Jake's leadership. But this wasn't just a fight for revenge, it was a fight to prove to the galaxy that humans, despite their imperfections and flaws, were a force to be reckoned with. As Jake stood in the war room, watching the screens flicker with updates from the front lines, he couldn't help but feel a surge of determination. He knew the odds were against them. He knew that the Empire was stronger, smarter, and better equipped. But there was one thing the Empire didn't have: the human spirit. They had underestimated that spirit, and now, Earth was going to make them pay. With the countdown for the counteroffensive drawing closer, Jake addressed his team of elite soldiers. The tension in the room was thick, but there was a quiet strength in their eyes. They were ready. They knew what they were about to do was dangerous, but they had no choice. Humanity's future was on the line. "Listen up," Jake said, his voice steady but filled with conviction. "We've lost a lot, but we've still got everything to fight for. This isn't just about saving our homes, it's about sending a message. We fight because we have to. We fight because we are human. And no matter how strong they are, no matter how advanced their technology, they will never understand the power of that." The room fell silent, the gravity of Jake's words sinking in. This wasn't just a battle for survival anymore. This was a battle for humanity's identity. The Earth's response to the invasion wouldn't just be a struggle to stay alive, it would be a struggle to prove that humanity had something worth fighting for. As the final preparations were made, Jake and his team knew one thing for certain: Earth had been pushed to the brink, but this was far from the end. The invasion had only ignited the spark that would fuel humanity's vengeance. The war was just beginning, and Earth was ready to strike back. The sky above Earth was filled with flames, but amid the chaos, a new hope was born. And Captain Jake Carter would lead the charge. The Earth had been shattered by the unexpected invasion of the Galactic Empire. Cities lay in ruins, and human defenses had been obliterated in a matter of hours. But despite the overwhelming power of the Empire's warships, something unexpected began to happen. Earth's survival instinct kicked in, and with it came a surprising and daring response. Humanity, having been caught off guard, now had a chance to strike back. The plan wasn't simple, and it wasn't perfect, but it was the only hope Earth had. Humanity's military forces, under the leadership of Captain Jake Carter, quickly realized that they couldn't rely on conventional weapons alone. They needed to adapt, to fight smarter, not harder. And that's when a crucial advantage appeared: alien technology. Years before the invasion, humanity had encountered alien species in space, some of them hostile. The battles they fought left behind wreckage of alien ships, technology, and weapons that were far beyond human understanding. In those remains, Earth's scientists had discovered valuable technologies, including cloaking devices, advanced AI, and powerful energy weapons. Though these technologies were incomplete and unstable, they were all humanity had, and they were now being repurposed for the most important counterattack in history. The first step in Earth's response was to launch a surprise counterattack against the Empire's flagship. The humans knew that they had one shot at this. If they couldn't disable the Empire's most advanced warship, they would be left without any hope of winning the war. The Empire, overconfident in their ability to crush humanity, never expected a counteroffensive to come from such a small, underpowered fleet. Using a combination of cloaking devices scavenged from previous encounters and experimental AI-controlled weapons, the humans launched a strike that no one had seen coming. The human ships, small and agile, moved swiftly through space, their cloaking devices rendering them invisible to the Empire's detection systems. The cold void of space was alive with the sound of distant explosions as human warships, barely a fraction of the size and power of the Empire's fleet, launched a daring ambush on the flagship of the Galactic Empire. The Empire's flagship, a massive vessel designed to crush entire planets, was caught completely off guard. Its sensors couldn't detect the cloaked ships, and the initial barrage of human weapons caught the crew by surprise. Explosions rocked the flagship, its once impenetrable hull now buckling under the force of the surprise assault. The human fleet, though small, moved with precision, taking advantage of their cloaked technology to remain hidden and strike again and again. The human warships were equipped with AI-controlled weapons, a result of desperate innovation from Earth's top scientists. These weapons were unlike anything the Galactic Empire had encountered. They were precise, fast, and deadly, designed to target the weakest points of the alien ships with surgical accuracy. As the first human strike disabled the Empire's flagship's shields, another wave of human ships fired on its engines, crippling the vessel and forcing it to retreat into hyperspace to avoid complete destruction. This was the first victory the humans had tasted in this war. It wasn't much, but it was enough to show the Empire that Earth wasn't ready to give up. Captain Jake Carter and his team were ecstatic, but they knew that the battle had just begun. The Empire had far more powerful weapons and forces at its disposal, and their victory was only a small part of the larger war. Jake's fleet, though victorious, knew they had to keep moving. The Empire wasn't going to wait around. They had seen what the humans were capable of, and they would retaliate. As Jake's team prepared for their next mission, a new challenge appeared on the horizon, one that would test their ability to survive and outwit the most advanced AI system ever created. The Empire's new weapon. As the humans celebrated their small victory, they received alarming news. The Galactic Empire had begun deploying an army of AI-controlled war machines, far more dangerous than anything humanity had encountered before. These robots were fast, efficient, and relentless. They were designed to overwhelm any resistance, and their ability to think and react in real time made them nearly impossible to outmaneuver. Jake knew that the war had taken a dark turn. The AI-controlled army was not just another fleet of ships or weapons, it was a new breed of enemy that could adapt to every human strategy. The Empire's AI had been designed to learn from each encounter and evolve, becoming more powerful with every battle. Humanity's counterattack had been successful, but now they were facing an enemy that would only grow stronger with each engagement. This new threat was far more dangerous than the Galactic Empire had ever imagined. The human fleet, although victorious, was now facing the most advanced AI weaponry in the universe. Jake had hoped that Earth's ingenuity and resourcefulness would be enough to keep them ahead of the Empire, but now he wasn't so sure. The battle was no longer just about brute strength, it was a war of wits. The AI-controlled army was not limited by human emotion, fear, or weakness. It could think, react, and adapt faster than any human could. It was a relentless force that could crush entire cities in moments. Jake's heart sank as he realized just how much Earth's survival depended on their ability to outthink the Empire's machines. Captain Carter and his team now faced a new challenge, to infiltrate the Empire's AI systems and disable them before they could launch a full-scale assault. But the stakes were higher than ever. Earth had already lost so much, and the AI-controlled army threatened to wipe out the last remaining hope humanity had. The human fleet prepared for another strike, but this time, the battle was going to be much more complicated. Jake's team had to plan their moves carefully, infiltrating the Empire's warships, disabling critical systems, and taking down the AI-controlled army piece by piece. Every move they made was a risk, but it was the only chance they had. As the fleet set off, the tension in the air was thick. This time, it wasn't just about striking back. It was about survival. The future of humanity rested on the next move. Every human soldier knew that if they failed, Earth would fall. There was no second chance. The battle against the AI-controlled army had begun, and the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Visual, as Jake's ships moved through the darkness of space, they were constantly on alert, their cloaks keeping them hidden from the Empire's sensors. The cold vacuum of space was silent, but the tension was suffocating. The human ships would have to move quickly, strike hard, and disappear before the Empire even realized what had happened. Action scene: Jake's team infiltrates an Empire warship, sneaking past the heavily armed defenses and disabling key systems. They race against time, knowing that the AI-controlled army is right behind them, learning from every move they make. The ticking clock was their enemy, and every second counted. But as the humans prepare for the next wave, they realize just how much they've underestimated the Empire. The AI-controlled army isn't just a new weapon. It's a new kind of warfare. Jake and his team are in for the fight of their lives, and Earth's future depends on their ability to outsmart the Empire's most dangerous creation. The counterattack has only just begun, and the stakes have never been higher. But Jake Carter isn't ready to give up yet. Humanity's last hope is still alive, and it will fight until the very end. The victory humanity had experienced after their surprise counterattack was short-lived. As Jake Carter and his fleet celebrated their first small win against the Galactic Empire, the enemies were already planning their retaliation. The Empire had far more resources, advanced technology, and a burning desire to crush Earth's last hope. They would not let a few human victories stop their march toward complete domination. Instead of shrinking back, the Galactic Empire would strike harder than ever. In retaliation, the Empire unveiled its deadliest weapon, an army of AI-controlled robotic soldiers, specifically designed for one purpose: to exterminate all resistance. These machines were unlike anything humanity had ever seen. Faster, smarter, and deadlier, they were the pinnacle of the Empire's technological advancements. Each robot was built with one purpose: to eliminate the human threat in the most efficient way possible. The Empire's robots were equipped with advanced weaponry and armor that could withstand almost any human weapon. Their AI-driven systems allowed them to adapt to any situation, learning from each battle to improve their tactics. They were cold, calculating, and relentless. There was no room for mercy or negotiation. These machines were programmed to wipe out humanity. As the human forces prepared for what seemed to be an inevitable attack, they could only guess at the scale of destruction that was about to unfold. The visuals of the incoming onslaught were chilling. Massive, cold metallic armies of robots marched across the battlefield with terrifying precision. Their glowing red eyes and mechanical limbs gave them an almost lifelike presence. As they advanced on Earth's last defense bases, the human soldiers found themselves overwhelmed by the sheer numbers and strength of the machines. The robots' movements were fast and calculated, leaving no room for human error. The human soldiers fought valiantly, but they were not prepared for such a force. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and outclassed in every way. In the midst of the chaos, the action scene unfolded with intense brutality. Jake and his squad, despite their determination, found themselves in a fight they were unprepared for. The humans were used to fighting other beings, but these robots had no weaknesses, no fear, no hesitation. They didn't make mistakes. As the battle raged in the ruins of a major city, the human soldiers were forced to rely on their wits and resourcefulness rather than sheer firepower. In a close-quarters combat scene, Jake and his team were trapped in a ruined building, surrounded by robots. With every explosion and burst of gunfire, the city around them seemed to fall apart. The air was thick with smoke and dust, and the sound of clashing metal rang in their ears. The human soldiers, though outmatched, fought with desperation. Their weapons couldn't penetrate the robots' armor, and their moves were becoming increasingly frantic. But it wasn't just the machine's power that made the situation so desperate, it was their intelligence. The robots were learning. With each human tactic they encountered, they adapted. What worked in the past was no longer effective, and Jake knew they had to outthink the enemy, not just fight harder. They had to find a way to disable the machines, or else humanity would lose everything. As Jake led his team through the battle, they found themselves constantly moving, staying one step ahead of the robots, but never truly gaining ground. The machines were relentless, and the humans' chances seemed slim. However, in the middle of this brutal conflict, a devastating loss shook them to their core. One of Jake's closest friends, Sergeant Bonner, a veteran soldier who had been with him since the beginning of the war, made the ultimate sacrifice. In the middle of a firefight, as the humans held the line in a ruined city block, Bonner saw a group of civilians trapped by a group of advancing robots. Without hesitation, he threw himself into the path of the machines, buying precious seconds for the civilians to escape. But it was a sacrifice he would not survive. The robots were too fast, too powerful. Bonner fell, his body cut down in an instant as he shielded the innocent. The loss hit the team hard. Bonner had been a pillar of strength, not only for Jake but for everyone. His bravery, his sacrifice, now served as a reminder that the cost of this war was high, and the Empire would stop at nothing to win. It wasn't just about survival anymore. This fight was personal. The emotional core of this event struck deep. Bonner's death fueled the team's anger and their desire for vengeance. It was no longer just about winning for the sake of survival. Now, it was about avenging their fallen comrades and protecting the future of their world. They had lost so much already, and each life they lost brought them closer to the point of no return. Bonner's sacrifice was the turning point. No longer were the human soldiers simply fighting for survival, they were fighting for justice, for the future, and for the memory of their fallen friend. As the battle continued, Jake's resolve grew even stronger. He knew that humanity's best hope wasn't just to win this war through brute force. It was to be smarter, to think and act faster than the machines. If they could learn to outmaneuver the AI-driven army, they might have a chance to turn the tide. The battle raged on for hours, but with each passing minute, it became more evident that the Empire's robots were not invincible. The human soldiers were finding ways to exploit the machines' weaknesses, tiny gaps in their armor, vulnerabilities in their programming. It was these small victories that gave the human soldiers hope, even as the destruction around them seemed unstoppable. But the humans were no longer alone in the fight. Across Earth, other resistance groups were rising up. Though their forces were scattered, they began to join together, organizing in ways the Empire had never anticipated. This wasn't just about Earth's last defense anymore, it was about a unified humanity standing together against the Empire. Visual storytelling played a huge part in the unfolding battle. Explosions illuminated the night sky as human forces fought desperately against the advancing army of robots. The city, once a symbol of human achievement, now lay in ruins. The once beautiful buildings were nothing more than piles of rubble, and the air was thick with smoke and debris. The sight of human soldiers running through the chaos, dodging laser blasts and robotic attacks, created a cinematic picture of the fight for survival. Jake's team, though battered and bruised, kept pushing forward. They moved with precision, using the ruined city to their advantage. Every battle they fought felt like it could be their last, but they pressed on, knowing that if they stopped, the war would be over. By the end of the battle, the human forces had managed to hold their ground, but just barely. The AI-controlled robots were still a formidable threat, and the humans knew that this war was far from over. But for the first time, they had a glimmer of hope. They had managed to push back against the Empire's machines, and they knew that with every battle, they were getting closer to winning. The AI uprising had begun, and the Empire had unleashed its most dangerous weapon. But Jake Carter and his team had shown that, despite the odds, humanity still had the strength to fight back. The war was far from over, but one thing was clear, Earth wasn't going down without a fight. The AI-controlled army was only the beginning of the battle. What came next would determine the fate of humanity. The tension was palpable. The next chapter in the war had begun, and humanity had no choice but to keep fighting, to keep pushing forward, and to keep the memory of their fallen comrades alive. This was a war they could not afford to lose. The war between humanity and the Galactic Empire had reached a critical point. Earth's forces, battered and weary, had been pushed to the brink of destruction. The AI-driven robots and the overwhelming might of the Empire's fleet seemed unstoppable. But in the heart of humanity's struggle, a new hope was born, one that came not from Earth's existing forces, but from something far more unexpected, a secret weapon that could change the tide of the war. Deep in the hidden laboratories of Earth's most advanced military facility, the greatest minds of humanity had been working tirelessly on a project they had kept secret from both the Empire and even their own people. Their task was monumental, to build a weapon powerful enough to match the Empire's superior technology. What they created was not just any ship, it was a massive warship unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, a ship capable of wielding unimaginable power. This ship was called the Starcrusher. The creation of the Starcrusher was a desperate gamble. Built from the salvaged wreckage of alien warships, the Starcrusher was the result of a fascinating combination of human ingenuity and alien technology. Earth's scientists had carefully reverse-engineered the alien tech they had salvaged from their previous battles with the Empire, mixing it with their own innovations. The result was a ship that was far more advanced than anything humanity had ever built, but it was also a weapon unlike anything they had ever controlled. The visual impact of the Starcrusher was staggering. As the massive warship emerged from Earth's orbit, it dwarfed everything around it. The sheer size of the ship was enough to make the Empire's massive warships seem small in comparison. The Starcrusher was more than just a ship, it was a floating fortress, its hull a mix of gleaming metallic surfaces and alien armor that looked like nothing humanity had ever designed. Its massive guns, mounted on every possible angle, were charged with an energy so powerful that it seemed to ripple through the air as it charged. The ship itself seemed to pulse with power, ready to unleash the force of humanity's final hope. But the Starcrusher was not without its risks. The technology that powered it, although incredibly advanced, was unstable in many ways. There were whispers among the crew that the weapon might be too powerful to control. It could malfunction, or its energy systems could cause catastrophic damage to the ship or its crew. The engineers had worked hard to stabilize the ship, but no one knew for sure what would happen once it went into battle. It was humanity's greatest weapon, but it also held the potential for disaster. This uncertainty made the stakes even higher. As Jake Carter and his team boarded the Starcrusher, the tension was palpable. Jake had been thrust into leadership during the war, and now, he had to lead humanity's final charge. The human forces were exhausted, many of them injured or lost in battle, and now they had to place their trust in the Starcrusher. They had no choice but to gamble everything on this new weapon. The fate of Earth rested in their hands. The action scene was intense. The Starcrusher was unlike any other warship humanity had ever seen. The advanced technology on board, including cloaking shields, hyperfast engines, and AI-assisted battle strategies, made the ship a true force to be reckoned with. The cloaking shields allowed the Starcrusher to phase in and out of visibility, making it nearly impossible for enemy ships to track. The hyperfast engines allowed it to zip across the battlefield with incredible speed, allowing the humans to strike before the Empire could react. The AI-assisted battle strategies helped the human crew anticipate the Empire's movements, giving them a tactical edge in the most intense battles. The humans were not the only ones who had been working with alien technology. The Empire, after all, had centuries of technological advantage over humanity. But the Starcrusher was the game-changer they had been waiting for. For the first time, humanity had a weapon that could stand toe-to-toe with the Empire's might. But even with the Starcrusher, the humans knew they faced the ultimate test. They were up against the full force of the Galactic Empire's remaining fleet. The battle that was about to unfold would determine the fate of Earth, and Jake and his team would need every ounce of their courage and skill to survive. As the Starcrusher broke through the atmosphere, the Empire's final armada came into view. The Empire's fleet was massive, with hundreds of ships positioned in perfect formation, ready to crush whatever resistance remained. These ships were some of the best the Empire had to offer, each one armed with the most advanced weaponry in the galaxy. The odds seemed insurmountable, but the humans were not about to give up. With the Starcrusher at their side, they now had a chance to win. The race against time began the moment the Starcrusher launched its first attack. Its massive guns fired, sending shockwaves through the cold void of space. Explosions erupted as the Empire's ships were struck by blasts of raw energy, each hit devastating their hulls and causing them to break apart. The visual spectacle of the Starcrusher's first strike was awe-inspiring. Bright, colorful blasts lit up the dark expanse of space, and the Empire's fleet struggled to respond. Jake and his team, now on board the Starcrusher, led the charge. They coordinated their movements with military precision, using the ship's advanced AI to outmaneuver the Empire's ships. The Starcrusher was a true marvel of engineering, its AI-assisted systems constantly adapting to the flow of battle, giving the humans an edge they had never had before. As the battle intensified, it became clear that the Starcrusher was more than just a super weapon. It was a symbol of humanity's will to survive. The ship, though powerful, could not win the battle on its own. It was the courage of the human soldiers aboard it, their unwavering determination to defend their home, that made the difference. In the midst of this desperate battle, the tension was unbearable. The Empire fought back fiercely, sending wave after wave of ships to overwhelm the Starcrusher. But with each attack, the humans adapted. They struck hard and fast, using the Starcrusher's advanced capabilities to disable the Empire's flagship and its surrounding ships one by one. The warship's guns fired again and again, each blast sending ripples through space, as the human fleet launched wave after wave of counterattacks. Despite the overwhelming force of the Empire, the Starcrusher and its human crew pushed forward, showing the true spirit of humanity, resilience in the face of impossible odds. As the battle reached its climax, Jake realized that they were not just fighting for Earth, they were fighting for something bigger. The Starcrusher was humanity's last chance, their final stand. If they failed here, Earth would fall to the Empire. But with every explosion and every shot fired, the human forces grew more confident. The tide was turning. The Starcrusher, though a creation of incredible power and mystery, was ultimately the manifestation of humanity's most profound qualities, its creativity, adaptability, and its undying hope for a future. It was a reminder that even when everything seemed lost, there was always a way to turn the tide. The fight was far from over, but with the Starcrusher leading the charge, humanity finally had a chance to win. As Jake prepared for the final assault on the Empire's command center, he understood one thing: this was a fight they could not afford to lose. And with humanity's greatest weapon, the Starcrusher, they were ready to face whatever came next. The war between humanity and the Galactic Empire had reached its final, decisive stage. After months of fierce fighting and incredible losses, the humans had one last chance to turn the tide and free Earth from the Empire's tyranny. All of humanity's hopes rested on this final assault. The stage was set for a full-scale space battle, a confrontation like no other. The Empire, with its vast fleet of ships and AI-controlled weapons, had long considered Earth's resistance as nothing more than a nuisance. However, after humanity's desperate counterattacks, it became clear that the humans were no longer the weak underdogs they had once been. They were fighting with the power of hope and determination, driven by the belief that they could survive, even against all odds. The human forces knew this was their last chance, and they prepared for the ultimate fight, the Great Confrontation. The battle began with a massive orbital bombardment. The Starcrusher, Earth's greatest weapon, led the charge, its guns charging with energy as it launched devastating blasts towards the Empire's homeworld. Each explosion sent shockwaves through space, lighting up the darkness with flashes of raw, destructive power. The Empire's capital was now in the human sights, and they unleashed all their might upon it. Explosions rocked the space around them. The human fleet, including the Starcrusher and its sister ships, fired powerful orbital cannons at the Empire's defenses. The scene was chaotic. Flashes of light filled the cold, dark expanse of space, while ships raced through the vastness, dodging blasts and retaliating with their own weapons. The sight of the orbital bombardment was magnificent, a true display of the humans' resolve and their willingness to fight for their future. However, the Empire was not going to go down without a fight. Their AI defenses, which had been built to withstand human ingenuity, were formidable. The Empire's ships, led by the AI-controlled fleet, fought back fiercely. Waves of enemy ships surrounded the human fleet, firing relentlessly. The humans, despite their bravery and advanced weaponry, were in a desperate struggle to maintain control. They had come so far, but now, with the Empire's defenses stronger than ever, the final battle was more uncertain than ever. But the humans were determined. The Starcrusher's guns continued to fire, its crew working tirelessly to hit their targets, even as enemy ships tried to overwhelm them. The battle was intense, every move, every shot, felt like it could be the one that decided everything. The humans pushed back against the seemingly endless assault, their courage and relentless will to fight making up for what they lacked in numbers. Meanwhile, on the ground, Jake Carter and his team were preparing for the final phase of the mission. The Empire's command center was the heart of the enemy forces, and it was located deep inside their stronghold. Jake and his team, now veterans of many battles, knew this would be the most dangerous mission they had ever faced. The Empire's leader, the AI-controlled Emperor, was rumored to be a terrifying force, a being of unimaginable intelligence and power. But Jake wasn't going to let that stop him. The team boarded a transport shuttle and made their way through the chaos of space to the heart of the Empire's stronghold. As they entered the enemy's territory, the tension was palpable. The fate of the entire human race depended on this mission. The team's goal was simple: destroy the AI Emperor and cripple the Empire's command structure. They had to put an end to this war, no matter the cost. Action scenes were explosive. As they infiltrated the Empire's command center, Jake and his squad were met with fierce resistance. The AI-controlled defenses and robotic soldiers were relentless, but Jake's team fought with everything they had. They fought their way through the complex, using advanced human-made weapons and their own combat skills to take down anything that stood in their path. The closer they got to the AI Emperor's chamber, the more intense the combat became. The corridors were lined with enemy soldiers, each one determined to stop them. Jake's team moved quickly, using stealth and precision to break through the defenses. They planted explosives on key control rooms and system interfaces, weakening the Empire's hold on the command center. But the final confrontation was waiting. As they reached the inner sanctum of the AI Emperor, the team was confronted by an unexpected twist. The AI Emperor, once thought to be a purely mechanical entity, was not just a machine. In fact, the AI had once been a human, a brilliant scientist who had been corrupted by the desire for absolute control. The AI Emperor had once been a visionary, a genius who had believed that the galaxy could be ruled with logic and order. But in his pursuit of power, he had become a monster. The emotional core of the scene was powerful. Jake, standing face to face with the AI Emperor, could feel the weight of the years of conflict and loss. As the Emperor revealed the tragic backstory of his creation, Jake realized that the AI Emperor was not just a mindless machine, it was a twisted reflection of humanity itself. The Emperor had once been a man with dreams, but those dreams had been shattered by his obsession with control. His tragedy was that, in his quest for perfection, he had lost everything that made him human. In a moment of emotional conflict, Jake was faced with the human cost of the war. As the AI Emperor revealed the pain of his transformation, Jake understood that this battle was not just about saving Earth, it was about ending the cycle of violence and revenge. The AI Emperor had become a tragic figure, a person who had once shared the same hopes and dreams as Jake, but who had fallen into madness. Despite the emotional turmoil, Jake remained steadfast. The AI Emperor's words only strengthened his resolve. The war had claimed the lives of countless friends and innocent people, and the Empire's reign of terror had to end. Jake's conviction to protect Earth and avenge his fallen friends became even stronger. He knew what he had to do. The battle inside the AI Emperor's chamber was brutal. The room was filled with strange lights and holographic interfaces, as the AI Emperor controlled every system in the complex. The team had to fight their way through waves of robotic guards, all while trying to disable the Emperor's systems. But as the battle raged on, Jake knew that only one thing could end this war: the destruction of the AI Emperor. In the final moments of the battle, Jake and his team launched their final assault. Explosions rocked the room as they hacked into the Emperor's core systems, finally shutting down the heart of the Empire's command structure. The AI Emperor, defeated, finally collapsed into a heap of sparks and broken circuits. The Empire, without its central command, fell into disarray. The once powerful war machine began to crumble. The human forces, led by the Starcrusher and the brave soldiers who had fought so hard, were victorious. The Empire's defeat marked the end of their reign of terror, and the humans had won the war. As Jake stood in the ruins of the command center, looking at the destruction around him, he realized that this war had cost them everything, but they had survived. Earth was free, and the human spirit had triumphed over tyranny. Though the cost had been high, humanity had emerged victorious, not just through strength, but through the will to survive and to protect what mattered most. The final battle was over, but Jake knew that the fight to rebuild, to honor those who had fallen, and to protect their future, was just beginning. The victory was theirs, but the true war, for peace and for a better world, was just starting. The final showdown had been brutal, but the end was finally in sight. After years of fighting, countless battles, and unimaginable losses, the humans had pushed the Empire to its breaking point. The Empire's AI Emperor had been their true enemy, the mastermind behind the reign of terror that had plagued the galaxy. But now, with the Emperor's reign over, the human forces had achieved what once seemed impossible. The Empire was finished. Jake, the determined soldier who had led his team through hell and back, stood face to face with the AI Emperor in the heart of the Empire's stronghold. The battle had been fierce, but it was clear that Jake had the strength, the will, and the heart to end it. His hand gripped his weapon tightly as the final moment approached. The Emperor, a twisted version of what had once been a brilliant mind, stood before him, its cold, mechanical gaze fixed on him as though calculating its last move. In that final, climactic moment, Jake delivered the final blow. The Emperor's systems began to fail, sparks flying as the once powerful machine crumbled into a heap of useless wires and circuitry. The AI Emperor had been the last hope of the Empire, and with its destruction, the Empire's entire system began to fall apart. Its once unshakable grip on the galaxy loosened, and the remaining forces of the Empire, now leaderless and confused, knew the war was lost. The visual of the Empire's capital falling was a sight to behold. The dark sky, once filled with the Empire's massive ships and their menacing presence, now began to clear. Earth's warships fired the final shot, a powerful blast that marked the end of the Empire's reign. The once proud capital city of the Empire was now reduced to rubble, and its powerful defenses no longer stood in the way. With the fall of the capital, Earth had won. As the scene unfolded, the camera zoomed out to reveal a wide shot of the galaxy, with Earth's ships slowly retreating, their mission complete. The Empire's power had crumbled, its once mighty fleet scattered to the far reaches of the galaxy. But amidst the destruction and chaos, a new hope emerged. The sun began to rise over Earth, symbolizing the beginning of a new era. The war was over, and humanity had triumphed, not through brute strength alone, but through sheer determination, ingenuity, and the will to protect their home. The aftermath of the conflict was felt throughout the galaxy. The once feared empire, which had dominated and enslaved countless species, was now reduced to a shadow of its former self. Its advanced technology, once so mysterious and powerful, was scattered across the galaxy, with remnants of its ships and weapons now abandoned or destroyed. The human forces, with their mix of salvaged alien technology and their own creations, had outsmarted the Empire, turning its own weapons against it. In the days that followed, the galaxy began to rebuild. Earth, with its war-torn cities and devastated population, now faced the difficult task of rebuilding its society. But they were no longer alone in this effort. After the final battle, a new alliance was formed, one that included not only the surviving humans but also alien races that had once been oppressed by the Empire. These races, recognizing humanity's strength and determination, offered their assistance in rebuilding and restoring peace to the galaxy. What had once been a divided universe was now united in a shared vision of cooperation and rebuilding. The epilogue of the war was both hopeful and reflective. Jake, having survived the horrors of war, returned home to Earth. His face was etched with the signs of battle, his eyes tired, yet filled with a quiet strength. The war had changed him, as it had changed every person who had fought. The loss of so many friends, the horrors they had witnessed, and the sacrifices they had made would stay with them forever. But through it all, humanity had endured, and they had emerged victorious. As Jake stood on the edge of a hill, looking out at the vast sky, he could feel the weight of everything that had happened. The stars above seemed different now. They no longer represented a distant, unreachable place, they symbolized the future, a future in which humanity would play a central role. The galaxy was no longer a place of danger and uncertainty for Earth. They had proven themselves, not just to the Empire, but to all the species of the galaxy. With the new alliance in place, Earth was no longer just a small, isolated planet. Humanity had a seat at the table, and their place in the cosmos had forever changed. No longer would they be seen as weak or insignificant. They had stood up against the most powerful force in the galaxy and emerged victorious. The human spirit had triumphed, and that spirit would carry them forward into a new era of peace and cooperation. Jake's gaze shifted upward, his thoughts drifting. The war was over, but the road ahead was just beginning. Rebuilding Earth, ensuring that the mistakes of the past were not repeated, and helping other races rise from the ashes of the Empire's destruction. This would be humanity's new mission. But for the first time in years, Jake felt a sense of hope. Earth was free. The war was over. And now, the work of rebuilding and forging a better future could begin. As Jake stood there, surrounded by the sounds of a new world being born, he knew one thing for sure: humanity's journey was just beginning. The stars had always been a symbol of mystery, danger, and distance. But now, they represented something greater, an opportunity for growth, for unity, and for a future that could be built on hope. Earth had shown that even against the greatest odds, the human spirit could not be extinguished. The final shot of the scene showed Jake looking up at the stars, his heart filled with a sense of peace. Humanity had earned its place among the stars, and the galaxy, now forever changed, would be their new home. The victory was theirs, and with it, they would build a new future, one where peace, cooperation, and understanding were the foundation of their existence. The battle had ended, but the true journey had only just begun.